Hello, Patriots, and a Merry Christmas to you. Now, I realize that saying Merry Christmas isn't politically correct anymore, but if you haven't figured it out, I'm against political correctness. Political correctness is a cancer, which is destroying America, destroying free speech, and destroying common sense, where people aren't allowed to say what things really are anymore. And if you want to have a little fun this Christmas season, go up to one of these politically correct liberals in their war against Christmas and wish them a Merry Christmas and see what happens.
Merry Christmas!
Well, on today's episode, we're going to be discussing Governor Andy Beshear's war on education here in Kentucky. Now, this is kind of ironic because isn't he, during his campaign, didn't he say, I'm for the teachers and I'm for education? And that was his big thing. However, it turns out that he is not for them. And here is some evidence about that. Did you realize that back in February, now remember, February is before COVID hits. We didn't have anything in Kentucky until March. So before COVID ever hits, he prepares his budget. This is how we're going to spend the state's money. And he underfunded the teachers' pensions. And he cut the teachers' throats. And guess how much he underfunded their pensions by? $83 million. And you don't have to take my word for it. I have a link to the newspaper article in the description of this video where you can read this for yourself. And according to the Kentucky Retirement System's executive director, he's the one who said Andy Beshear's budget is cutting our pensions by $83 million. And this is huge. Well, not only is Andy Beshear waging war on education of the teachers, he's also been waging war on Kentucky's students, where first of all, they're in school for a while, then they're out of school, then they're back in, but now they're back out, and they may or may not go back in a little bit later. I'm hearing from all kinds of teachers, and they're saying, listen, with this online stuff, there are massive amounts of absences, and we have tons of kids who are falling behind, and we're not able to do anything about this. A lot of kids, they can't do online education because, first of all, you got to have an internet connection. Not everybody has that, Andy. Second, you got to have a computer. Not everybody has that, Andy. And third, even if you have a computer, then your parent might be using that because he's been telling, hey, parents, you need to work at home and stay home, and tell all these businesses, have your people work at home. So maybe mom and dad are using the computer or eating up the computer and internet connection because they were told they have to do that. And he's not taking any of this into account, and he is devastating Kentucky students. I think of how many students in Kentucky, when they go to take their ACT test to see about getting into college with scholarships, how many of them are going to suffer, and their scores will suffer horribly because Andy Beshear has basically kept them from having a good full year of school. How many of them were hoping to get scholarships because of their sports performance in high school or some of their academic performance or these other activities, and yet they've not been able to do these things, and now they're not going to be able to get these scholarships to get into college, or at least to get into a college that would have been the best for them. So let's think about this. Is he actually saving the lives of any Kentucky children at all? Well, here we can look it up, and because it's very easy to look up COVID-19 deaths by age. You can even look it up by age and by state. I'm putting the graphic right here, and I put the link in the description so you can check this for yourself. You'll see how many school-age children have died in Kentucky from COVID-19. 0. Absolutely none. Now, we did have 1 or 2 who died of other reasons, but they had COVID-19 when they died, but they died from other reasons. So they didn't really die because of COVID whatsoever. So 0. So he's not saving any Kentucky students' lives at all, is he? And also, he is not saving the lives of teachers, because we're going to find out, I'm going to show you some evidence now that students do not spread COVID-19. Kids don't spread it. And here's the evidence to prove that.
If you look at the data, the spread among children and from children is not really very big at all, not like one would have suspected.
In April, many months ago, a study by the Journal of the American Medical Association found that school-aged children who get the coronavirus, quote, develop only mild symptoms and typically recover within 2 weeks. Months later, same story. In June, a study in The Lancet affirmed this, quote, COVID-19 is generally a mild disease in children, including in infants. Other studies found the exact same thing. No study has found anything but that. There was never much question about it. Well, for teachers under the age of 50, and that's the vast majority of them, the odds of surviving a coronavirus infection are roughly 99.98%. But we should tell you that for teachers under 70, the risk of dying escalates to a terrifying 99.5% chance of survival. And by the way, if teachers do get sick, it likely won't be from teaching. Children appear not to spread the coronavirus, certainly not effectively. We've known this for a long time. Back in May, researchers in Europe found, quote, children do not appear to be drivers of transmission. And we argue that reopening schools should be considered safe, accompanied by certain measures.
So there you have it. We have evidence from not only the TV sources, but Dr. Fauci himself, the director for the response for COVID-19. We've got articles from the American Medical Association, from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control, the precious CDC, all of these and more, all reporting that, first of all, kids are very unlikely to get it. They're not going to die if they do get it, and they don't spread it to the teachers. Therefore, there is zero reason for Andy Beshear to continue to wage his war on Kentucky's public education system. But he's not just limiting it to public education. He's been attacking private education as well, where he has just commanded that all the church schools have to close. Even though these church schools don't necessarily take any money or anything from the government, he's going to tell you how you can run your school and run the business of your church. It's just like when he's told businesses to close. He's like, listen, it's not your business, it's mine, and I'll tell you when you can be open and I'll tell you when you can close. I'm so grateful for those who have stood up and said, listen, no, I'm going to run my own business because I'm going to lose everything if I don't. So what have I got to lose? And I'm grateful for those church schools who have defied the governor's orders and have stayed open. They won the case originally to stay open. The governor asked another judge to just ignore that case and rule in his favor, even though there was another court case, just a judge issuing a stay, which says, well, we're going to ignore the other court and the governor wins. Well, the governor is now having to go up to the United States Supreme Court. Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh has directed Andy Beshear that he has to respond no later than Friday, February the 4th. And if he doesn't, they're going to summarily rule against him. So he'll issue something, and we'll probably get a ruling from the United States Supreme Court on this case this coming week. And I've got a good guess what's going to happen, because here a week or two ago, they had this almost exact same case over in New York, where New York Governor Cuomo had told the churches, you have to shut down some of your works and your ministries. And the Supreme Court said, you can't do that. That is violating the United States freedom of religion. And that's probably what's going to happen in this case as well. And then Governor Beshear is going to be in a major crisis. And here is the reason why. These church schools are staying open. They never have closed, even in defiance of the governor's orders. And you know what's happened so far? Nothing has happened so far. We don't have reports of any kids getting sick or dying. We don't have any reports of any of the teachers in these schools getting sick or dying. If there was, he'd plaster that all over the airwaves during his propaganda hour. And so what happened to these Christian church schools? Nothing. And so therefore the public schools are going to start saying, and the parents that their students go to the public schools, hey, wait a second, why are you destroying my kids' education when the church schools continued and nothing happened? It was fine. And the teachers are probably going to be asking, hey, why have you cut our pensions $83 million when you promised that you were going to be for us? And remember, he did that before COVID ever hit. In addition to all of these things, Andy Beshear has one other huge major problem, and it's developing a crisis for him, and it's a crisis he has with the Kentucky Constitution. Notice what it says in Section 5. The civil rights, privileges, or capacities of no person shall be taken away or in any wise diminished or enlarged on account of his belief or disbelief of any religious tenet, dogma, or teaching. No human authority shall in any case whatever control or interfere with the rights of conscience. And the rights of conscience of these parents sending their kids to these church schools say, hey, listen, we have the right to educate our children in a manner that we believe in, and he has interfered with that. Here is just another reason for the impeachment of Andy Beshear. We're actually going to be doing a video on that so that you'll have a big list of reasons legally that we need to impeach and remove this person. If you would like to help to remove Andy Beshear from office, then you can do it two different ways. First of all, you can call the Kentucky State Capitol and you can say, listen, I want this guy removed. Leave a message for your senator or your representative. If you don't know who your representative or senator is up in Frankfort, just give the operator your address and they can look up who your person is. And I always tell people, be brief, be courteous, and ask them to contact you back with what they will be doing. So not only can you leave a phone call, you can also write a letter to them. Putting the address on the screen, it is 702 Capitol Avenue, Frankfort, Kentucky, 40601. And address a letter, one to your senator and another one to your state representative. So that's a little bit about Andy Beshear's ongoing war with education. And make sure you tune in here in a few days when we give you the list of all of the reasons why he should be impeached. And until next time, I'm Lee Watts for Patriot Point. Merry Christmas, stand strong, and breathe free.